I'm not sure what I want to talk about. I just know that I don't want to be here. Hopefully, I can explain why in a cohesive manner. And if you hear any rummaging in the background, I just fed my dogs. And I make food for them, whole food for my dogs, because I learned that the dog's primary way of experiencing their environment is through their mouth. And ever since I learned about that, just the idea of kibble became even more depressing. I always thought it was like weird and sad that dogs only ever ate like one thing, but now learning that that's the primary way they experience their environment is through their mouths. To think that you get swat in the bum anytime you try to chew something and then you're only ever given one type of kibble, like that's just really depressing. So I've been making different whole foods, and it has been a highlight in my life and stuff recently. But I really don't want to be alive anymore. And I haven't wanted to for a while. And the more I try and like pick myself up from that mindset and move on and create something for me in my life, I just find myself stuck in the same place. Like I grew up in a cult, and my parents were so in it when I was young that so they basically used fear as their only parenting tool. And so I was fawning was my response to that. And so I was really obedient, and the normalcy of my uncomfortability was so much so that later on in life, when I was in abusive relationships, I couldn't tell the difference between how I felt being around my father, how I felt being around my family, how I felt being around people I grew up with, to abusive men. Because essentially there was no difference. And as well, throughout my childhood, I was ableized because I actually am disabled. I had a complete spinal fusion from the bottom of my neck to the top of my tailbone. Complete spinal fusion when I was 14 or 15. And I've never been on pain meds. Have not received the follow-up appointments that I needed to be part of the study that I was part of. And now I'm 26, and all my trauma and failed attempts at getting healthcare, doctor's appointments have just not worked out because my mental health is so bad due to my trauma and my pain. Truly, in a capitalist system, there is a point where you can beat someone down and they can't get up. And I know a lot of people are feeling that right now. Sorry, my dog is coming around. Sit. Good girl. But it's just sad because I feel like my dog would be the the one most affected if I did decide to go, because I actually found her in the trash on the day I was planning to leave as a puppy, and now sometimes I feel really guilty that this probably is not the life she was expecting, like I'm tired all the time, and she just wants to play. But, I really feel like animals, and pets especially, can be spirit guides. But they also are having their own independent life, and in a way, you're their spirit guide as well. It's an exchange. But I'm just so tired, and I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of picking myself up, pulling myself through to try and change my life, only for it not to work out. Because truly, how many times can I do that and still be in the same position? Like, through my childhood and learning that I was in these abusive relationships, I completely left town. I completely left my hometown. I was gonna start a new life, and I did essentially. I moved to Baltimore for 3 years, but sorry, my cat. So I did essentially for 3 years, but for the majority, I was like basically in a psychotic break, realizing the depth of my trauma. And so, if anything, being able to take care of myself and my life just completely fell apart. And I literally, in my most previous job, like, I've only ever had toxic work environments, and I'm starting to wonder, is that the only thing that exists in this capitalist system? I don't know, but because if you talk about it at an interview, or like even give a hint at like you didn't super like working at your last place, like, the interview people are not gonna trust you, and so, like, why bring it up, why say it or something. But yeah, my last job, it was remote, and I was working like at least 10 hours a day, and they were really slow on their paperwork, and so the majority of my time being there, I wasn't able to get health insurance. And then when I was able to get health insurance, it was like so expensive because they were taxing me out of 2 states because they were really slow on their paperwork, and I had moved the year before, So I had started off with a different address, moved, and then they essentially kept me. Anyways, it's upsetting, and that's not even what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is, like, I truly cannot hang on much longer. I keep trying to pick myself up. I keep telling people around me that this is how I feel. But everyone only cares about their own experience. Nobody, because now I left, tried to make my own life in Baltimore, and at the end of last year, my apartment building burnt down. And so now I'm back at my hometown, in my dad's house, living in the garage. Like, truly in the place of the origin of my trauma, in which I had been trying to escape. Luna, come here. Like, I'm not going to be alive for much longer. I don't know how much I can keep doing this. Luna, leave it. She's trying to get into the litter box. I don't want to be here. I don't like the people around me. And I don't have the resources I need to take care of myself. If I want to go somewhere, I'm going to have to negotiate, like, borrowing a car, or, like, how am I going to even pay for that gas? I'm unemployed. I've been trying to look for a job for 2 years. Through the trauma, I was pretty productive. And so I got my master's degree at 22 years old, and I'm essentially homeless by 25. I just turned 26 13 days ago. And, lay down. And I've been working really hard to find a job since I've been here. And I've been denied from Cane's, Walmart, like, higher salary jobs at different nonprofits. And no, I don't look like this during the interviews. People always comment about, like, oh, no wonder you have a piercing, or oh, no wonder you look like that. It's like, okay, yeah, I know right now I don't look the best. I look kind of ugly, but at what point would it take for you to look this way and still make a video about, like, these feelings that nobody cares about? Like, truly nobody cares. Like, at what point would you be able to sit with that and still just do it? But then people still fucking talk, so what's the point? But yeah, people around you only ever care about their own experience. And I simply don't really want to have one anymore. That's where I'm at. It was really hard, but I did it. And living through my 26th birthday, because it would have been symbolic, because that's the age that my mom was when she had me. But here I am 13 days later, and this is pressing on my mind so harshly. Like, and nobody cares anyway, and I've been trying to get myself out of this slump only to be found back in it. It's just really tempting. And things I've tried to do as, like, a different, career, and more of an eclectic career, was my groovyparadox.org, which I still think is a good idea, but I'm for one, disabled, and I'm also mentally ill, and I'm also just having a hard time. Like, so obviously it's not working out. And how long can I really go on like this? Not much longer.